Good morning, students. Today, I have something very special planned for you all. All right? First of all, I want you guys to look at this. Come on, let's look at this. This is a sheet with things that we would need for an African safari. What's on this sheet? Let's look. There's some pants, and they're tan colored. And then there's a jacket type shirt. Maybe it's to keep away mosquitoes. What else do you see? A hat. Good job. There's a hat over there. And here are some sunglasses. And then we have some boots. What's this? A camera. Good job, you guys. And here we have some spray. Maybe it's bug spray or sunscreen spray. What does sunscreen spray do? Do you guys know? That's right. It keeps off the sun. Good job. Well, these are some things that we would need on an African safari. Do you guys know what safari means? Those are some good guesses. We're going to talk about an African safari today. And I'm going to give you some new words. Safari is a group of people and things that these people need to find animals. So we have a group of people and then the things they need to go and find animals. And this word is used many times in Africa. Do you remember when we looked at the map of Africa last week? Yes, good job, you guys. Now, African means something from or something that is like something in Africa, or it can mean people from Africa. All right, here's some more vocabulary words. You guys keep your ears big and open to hear these whenever we're talking today and we're doing the lesson, okay? Middle, something that cuts first and last in half. So we have first and last, and then middle cuts them in half. Middle's right here. All right? Or middle can cut up and down in half, and middle is here. So we have up and we have down, and middle is here. Now, first is a thing that is number one in a group of many things. So there are many students here, but the student who I can point to first on my right, that is the first student. So the number one student that I can point to in the line of all of you sitting around the table right here. Okay? All right, you guys. Now I want you to meet a friend of mine. This is Lori, the lion. Now, in my real lesson, I would have a stuffed animal lion, not a leopard, but this is a substitute. And Lori has different parts. We've all got different parts. Got noses and eyes and ears. Lori's first part is his nose. See his little nose? It's kind of wet and warm, right? Little kitty cat's nose are. And Lori, our lion, also has a middle part. Remember middle? Our word, it cuts between the first and the end. So then Lori, our lion friend, also has an end. See his little tail? This is his end. And stories also have a first part, a middle part, and then an end part. Now, when we go on a safari, when we take these things and we get dressed, then after getting dressed, we go and we look for animals like Lori, our lion. And then in the end, maybe we take pictures with our camera. See here? Or maybe we go hunting and we go catch something, right? So, first we get dressed, then we go find animals, and at the end, we take pictures. So first, getting dressed, middle, finding animals, end, taking pictures. Now, I am going to give all of you crayons and paper, and I want you to draw something for me. All right, please draw what you would do on a safari. Okay, what would you do on a safari? And we're going to pass out the sheets, and I want all of you to draw that. Okay, then I would pass out the crayons and the paper and give the kids about 5 minutes or so for them to be able to draw what they would do if they were on a safari. Then, while they were doing this, I'd be watching them to see if they matched the comprehension questions that I have set up. So, the first says, the child understands a little that a story has a first part, middle part, and an end. The second check would be that the child understands clearly that a story has a first part, a middle, and an end. And then the third would be that the child understands well that a story has a first part, a middle, and an end. So I'd be watching the children as they were sitting at the table and watching their interactions, because after they colored their picture, then I would ask them to do this. Okay, kids, now that you've colored your story about what you would do on a safari, I want you to turn to the person next to you and tell them what is on your picture, okay? And then after they would tell their partner what was on their picture, I would bring them all back and ask them to please raise your hand, and can someone tell me what is on your picture? What would you do on your safari? And then I would pick a student, and as the ending, I would take a whiteboard and I would have markers, and then I would take a first part, a middle part, and an end part from some of the stories the children were telling with their drawings, and then tell a quick story. For example, Jen and Sue packed up their things and went on a safari. Or, more simple, because the children are really little, Jen and Sue planned to go on a safari. Then, that's our first part. For the middle part, I would say, Jen and Sue rode in a truck during the safari, or something more simple. Honestly, I'm thinking of these off the top of my head, and I would have some of these planned. Now that I'm seeing it's a little bit more complicated when you're trying to come up with simple sentences. And then for the end, I would say, Jim and Sue took a bunch of really great pictures of African animals. And then I would tell the students that, good job, you guys. I love your stories. I love the things that you came up with. Thank you so much for helping me to make a story today. And then I would release them to their individual areas, and they would go and be involved in the different activities. Or afterwards, we could read We're Going on a Lion Hunt by David Axtell. It's a really good book with a lot of chiming where the children could be involved and speak up. And that would be an extension. Then, during their independent free time, when they were playing, I could talk about how objects have a first, middle, and end part. For example, I could talk about how a car has the headlights, and then the doors, and then the back bumper. And then they could understand something has a first part, a middle part, and an end part. Or I could talk about how movies have a first part, a middle part, and then an end part. And I could even talk about how baking a cake, like if they were working at one of their centers where they were cooking and playing, talk about how baking a cake has 3 parts. First, you get the ingredients, then you mix the ingredients, and then you put them in the oven to cook. So making a cake has 3 parts. So that would be the first part, would be getting it. The second part would be mixing it, and the third part would be putting it in the oven. So that would be first, middle, and end. And then I could explain things like that to the children. So for my closing, I had put the telling of the story. Now, I really wanted the telling of the story to be based off of things the children had created for their safaris. So it could be Bob went on a safari and saw, Bob went on a safari. He saw 3 big giraffes. If one of the kids said, I saw 3 big giraffes on my safari. And then the end could be, Bob took good pictures of the 3 big giraffes and things like that. So that's my lesson, and I really think it would be fun. I think that shortening it to specifically having the children independently draw a drawing, and then in a group setting discuss their drawing, and then finally all of us taking the ideas we've come together with and as a whole making a first sentence, middle sentence, and end sentence would really stick with the kids, especially with Lori. It was fun to play with this. And again, I would have a real lion stuffed animal in the case of an actual lesson. So that's my lesson. Thank you for your thoughts. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed it.